Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. As LeBron James gets set for his 7th straight final appearance, Skip questions how lucky LeBron keeps getting for an easy path to the finals. Aaron Rodgers broke up with his girlfriend Olivia Munn, and we invite Rodgers' former teammate Greg Jennings to help sort out if any of the off-the-field trouble will distract the MVP quarterback. Russell Westbrook is now the front-runner for MVP, says our NBA analyst Jim Jackson, but Shannon is still holding out for James Harden. Skip and Shannon both take issue with USA Today's list of the top 10 quarterbacks drafted in the first round of the last 10 years. Plus, Jarvis Landry calls out the Patriots, but Shannon says, they ain't your big brother, they're your father, and the Patriots are going to beat the tail off the Dolphins come next season. I obviously disagree. Hashtag the new Miami. Skip and Shannon, let's debate.
You ain't gonna say anything?
I just got one thing to say. MVP!
Really?
I'm talking about me, not about Russ.
Oh,
How are
okay.
you?
I'm good.
Good. How are you, Joy?
I've been better, but
So have
I'll
I.
make it through.
I'm with you on that one.
I mean, what's going on, Joey?
Let's get to the real news of the night.
What's going on,
Get
Joey?
it started in the NBA. You know what's going on. The playoffs begin on Saturday. LeBron James sat out of last night's loss to the Raptors. It was the Cavs' 4th straight loss. They'll take on the Pacers in the first round after Indiana beat Atlanta last night. The Cavs won 3 of 4 against Indiana this season. Let's take a look at the rest of the Eastern Conference. The Cavs are the 2 seed. The Celtics have home court throughout the East and will host the Bulls in the first round. Wizards, Hawks, and Bucks Raptors are the other 2 first-round matchups. Skip, how hard is LeBron's path to the NBA Finals?
Shannon Sharpe, Shannon Sharpe. Your guy is so lucky.
Oh, stop it.
He is so blessed by the NBA gods, who I guess just wanted to give him a smooth, clear path to his 7th straight NBA Finals. Because last night, LeBron's path to the finals went from dangerously hard to ridiculously easy, in my view. He dodged 2 first-round bullets. I will tell you the truth. I believe with all my heart and soul that 2 teams would have upset the Cleveland Cavaliers in round 1. And LeBron dodged both the Heat and the Bulls last night. Just by fate, you suggested that maybe he was tanking to avoid the Heat. But then the Heat suffered a horrendous late-season injury that cost them probably the 7th seed. Because I'm still going to remind you about the Miami Heat, your Miami Heat. Since January 17th, the Heat still have the best record in the East and the 2nd best record to the Golden State Warriors in the NBA. But over the last 13 games, they went only 7-6 and barely fell out of the playoffs by 1 game because their guts and their glue, Dion Waiters, wrecked his ankle 13 games ago, back on what it was, early March. And 7-6 cost them the best record in the NBA since January 13th. That's what they would have had. They would have been number 1 overall since that's a big sample size. Mm-hmm. And they finished 3-1 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm just saying that if they're the 8 or the 7 or wherever, depending on where LeBron would have fallen, if LeBron deals with them, LeBron loses in the first round. Because I'm going to say this one more time. Yes, sir. Because let's talk about big sample size. Over the last 46 games the Cleveland Cavaliers played, that's 56% of their closing schedule. They went 23-23. You can't defend that. They're a 500 basketball team, the defending champs are. Mm-hmm. On the road, they're a sub-500 basketball team at 20-21 for the whole year. That's terrible. That's screaming that something is wrong with the Cavaliers. Wrong enough that with Dion Waiters, Miami would have beaten Cleveland. I believe the Chicago Bulls would have beaten Cleveland if somehow they had fallen into an 8-1 or 2-7 or however it would have worked. Because I'm going to remind you, the Chicago Bulls went 4-0 against the Cleveland Cavaliers this year. 4-0, and I realize that they finished 41-41, but I don't care. With Dwayne Wade coming back, you don't think Dwayne would have had a little something to say to LeBron in those playoff games? Just a little something?
Yeah, good luck in the finals,
You don't think LeBron would have been looking over his shoulder at D. Wade?
That's what D.
His
Wade,
big brother?
D. Wade would have told LeBron, good luck in the finals, bro.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have. 4-0 against the Cavaliers. So I remind you, that last game that they played at Chicago on March 30th, Cavs get off to their hot front-running start as usual. They're up 11 early in the third quarter, and they just collapsed, as they usually do, but they really collapsed the Bulls, and they lost 99-93. Remember that Friday night game? So that was the last time they played. I would have loved this Bulls-Cavs first-round matchup. I would have relished Heat versus Cavs in the first round. It would have gone 7 games. It might have been over in 6 in both cases. It just might have been over on the other floor. Look, they wind up with an Indiana team. Paul George just doesn't think he can beat LeBron James. I'm sorry.
He had 43-99 the last time they played.
Yeah, and then what happened? What happened at the end of the first overtime to Paul George? He steps to the free throw line with a chance to win the game. And what did he do with the first free throw? Clang.
It happens.
Clang. Oh, it happens because he just doesn't think he's LeBron James. And finally,
who is?
We look back at, you know, he has the ability to be. He's got the size, he's got the speed, he's got the quickness, he's got the strength. He's got LeBron dimensions to him, but he's just not LeBron James. And he knows in his heart of hearts he can't stand up to LeBron James.
KD knows that. Steph Curry knows that. Russell Westbrook knows that. Isaiah Thomas knows that. Kawhi knows that.
That's the only one who does not know that. And you know what? Dion Waiters doesn't know that. Dion Waiters is not afraid of LeBron James. And I'll throw in my one X factor real quick here. There's one X factor on Indiana's side. They added this guy 6 games back. This guy who used to be a Pacer a long time ago. This guy named Lance Stevenson. Who said he was on his couch playing video games when he got the call to come back to the Pacers after he's been wandering around the NBA. He's wandered to Charlotte, the Clippers, Memphis, New Orleans, the Timberwolves, and finally he's back. And I will say they should have won the overtime game. That was his first game back, the 2 overtime game. And they've gone 5-1 since then. He's another player who's not afraid of LeBron James. He'll blow in his ear if he has to distract him. He might tie his shoestrings together. I don't know what he might do, but he might do something to distract LeBron James. He's not afraid the way Paul George is afraid of LeBron James. I'm sorry, that's the only X factor left here. But if you look down the rest of it, your Cavs are going to get the Raptors instead of the Wizards, and that's just an easier matchup for them. I'm sorry that DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, they don't think they can beat LeBron James. It went 6 last year, but it might go 6 this year, but they still don't think in the end they can beat them. And I don't think the Celtics are a great matchup, and I think they will be in the conference finals. But remember, once upon a time back at the trade deadline, we thought maybe the Celtics would add Paul George. And I don't love Paul George. Or Jimmy Butler. Or Jimmy Butler, one or the other. And I would take Jimmy Butler over Paul George, but they could have traded what could become the first overall pick that they own from the Nets, obviously. They could have had Paul George for that, maybe a little bit more. And I think the Celtics made the right call for the big picture long term. No Paul George. We don't want him. He doesn't have that. He's not that guy. He's not a huge long-term difference maker. But if you had him, you'd be a better basketball team. If you had Jimmy Butler against LeBron, you just have another chance against him. But nobody pulled the trigger on any of those moves, so Paul George remains in Indiana, and LeBron remains right on path to an easy trip to his 7th finals.
I love what you do here, Skip. You've been doing this for the longest time, as long as I can remember. It doesn't matter what LeBron does. He beat a 60-win Atlanta team, swept them to go to the finals. He had a cakewalk. Let me tell you, LeBron could... Let's just say, if LeBron was in the West, he could beat the Rockets in the first round, the Spurs in the second round, and the Golden State Warriors, and you would still say he had a cakewalk. You know why? Because he's LeBron. He makes everything look like a cakewalk.
Oh, well, if he'd been in the West over the last 10 or so years, he wouldn't be going to any 7 straight finals.
Whoa, Skip, don't do that. Don't do that. Because you didn't say a word when Magic Johnson went to 9 finals in 12 years. You didn't say anything about the Supersonics that were terrible, the Kings that were terrible, the Clippers, the Mavericks that were terrible.
Don't you dare put LeBron James in the same sentence with Magic Johnson.
As a matter of fact, he's in a different book than Magic Johnson. Yeah. He's on Mount Rushmore.
I apologize, Magic, for that.
I
apologize for him, for that disrespect and that blasphemy from across the table.
LeBron is coming
one guy's a winner, one guy's not so much.
You're going to sit there and say that with a straight face.
I definitely am.
And then you're going to sit across from me and talk about if they had played the Heat. Didn't I tell you the Heat wasn't going to the final, the playoffs? I told you that. Oh, if they play the Heat, if they play the Bulls, you must be thinking LeBron James, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the only guy to get swept in the first round of the playoffs. You remember those times, Skip?
Yeah, when he was a baby. I remember.
Whoa.
I remember.
I ain't trying to hear nothing about no baby.
Yeah.
I'm talking about how he got swept in the first round.
Wait, help me out. How many finals did Michael Jordan go to?
He went to 6.
And how many did he win?
He went to 6 over 16
MVPs
years.
did he win?
He went to 6 over 16 years.
Six.
LeBron has gone to 6 straight. Hadn't been swept in the first round.
3 and
Swept.
4?
Swept.
Who got swept in the finals?
This is why
by the San Antonio Spurs. LeBron James got swept in the finals. That's just disgraceful.
Skip.
Come on, best player on the planet. You can't allow your team to get swept.
Look what he took to the finals. 2 mop buckets, a can of paint, and a squeegee.
They were better than that. They were
No, they
pretty
weren't.
good.
No, they weren't. No, they weren't.
Yeah.
Stop it. You need to stop, Skip Bayless. First of all, LeBron James has won 1 road playoff game in 26 straight series. That's a lot, isn't it, Skip? That's a large sample. Yeah, I mean, you love the part like 56% of the season. This is a large sample size, Skip. 26 playoff series. He's won at least 1 road game. That's big.
Most of those were in the Eastern Conference, the Cakewalk Conference.
So let me ask you a question. Did he win a road playoff game against Golden State? How many road playoff games did he win against Golden State?
Which one did Draymond miss?
Don't do that, Skip. Don't do me like that, Skip.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they won game 2 in 2015 without Kyrie and without Kevin Love.
It was huge.
But everybody always talks about the game Draymond missed. But why won't they say anything about the games that Kevin Love and Kyrie missed?
Okay, I say a lot about them because LeBron was spectacular. He just took over Russell Westbrook. You know what? LeBron was Westbrook-esque in those games. He was Westbrook. He actually belonged in the same sense with Russell Westbrook.
I wish you had a match I could set your papers on fire. Okay, what about Game 7 last year?
He won Game 2 at Golden State. We're going back 2 finals ago.
Yep.
And then he goes home and wins another game. Wow. So you're up 2-1 with Game 4 is in your house, right? Is that the King's house?
Yep.
King of Akron, but it's in Cleveland, right? Okay.
Yep.
Games aren't played in Akron, but they're played in Cleveland, so it's still his house, right? And what happened in that game?
They lost. The better team won the series.
Came up small.
The
King shrank.
Skip.
I don't know what happened to the King. He ran out of gas. That's what I was told. He ran out of gas.
I mean,
the fittest player on the planet in the 4th game of the finals ran out of gas.
Man averaged 35, 13, and 9.6. 35.
And that was it, and they lost 3 straight.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
Because Iguodala got inserted in the starting lineup, and Iguodala just canceled out LeBron James on both ends of the floor. Wow.
Game
Really?
7.
Iguodala?
So who was all in Game 7 last year at the finals? Who was in Game 7? Was Draymond there?
He was there. Was Bogut there? No, the best rim protector on the Golden State Warriors was not there. Oh, wait, super highway to basket for Freight Train. Mr. Freight Train. What'd you call him?
I ain't telling you what I called him.
Yeah.
Hold on, wait a minute, Skip. Now, when LeBron said when the Cavs signed Bogut and he broke his leg in like 60 seconds, and Bron said it was deflating, you talk about, Andrew Bogut's not all that. Why would you get
I didn't say that. You told me it's the best player on the planet. You shouldn't be whining about losing Andrew Bogut or anybody else.
Okay.
You shouldn't be whining about needing any more help because you're the best player on the planet, and you have Kyrie Irving riding shotgun, as you call him, Unc, right? Unc is riding shotgun for you. Am I right?
Yep.
And you had already added before that the best three-point shooter, catch-and-shoot three-point shooter in basketball, Kyle Korver. Well, that's pretty good, right?
So what about the unanimous MVP having Game 7 on his home court?
Yep.
What happened?
I don't know. I'm not a fan. I told you, he's got a lot to prove in the postseason. He has not lived up to either of his MVPs, especially the unanimous one. I've said it 39 times on this show.
The Cavs are not going 7 games with anyone in the East. LeBron has been the number 2 seed 5 times. Every time he's been the number 2 seed, Joey, tell Skip what's happened.
Whoops, we got a sniff.
Oh, what happened?
That means it's
He's
over.
not in the finals.
Case closed.
He did. Joy. He did, Joy.
Wow.
Joy, how you knew?
How
you
did
believe
you know that?
You gotta hide my notes. You and Skip.
You're asking Joy such hard
That is
questions.
a very exclusive nugget.
Yeah, that was a hard question. How did Joy know that? Nobody knew that except Joy Taylor in the whole world. She's the only person who knew that.
Why do you try to minimize Bron's accomplishments? Okay, he was number 1 seed. They swept the Hawks, who were the number 1 seed, 60-win team, 4 players on the All-Star
I need
team.
you to explain something to me.
Sure.
Over the last 46 games, let's keep it in the here and now.
Okay.
Here and now, 46 straight games
Yes.
the Cleveland Cavaliers have played,
Yes.
featuring the best player on the planet.
Correct.
Defending champions.
Yes.
23 wins, 23 losses. That's not a good sign, unless you can back out of it. Can you explain your way out of it?
No need
Thank
to.
you. No
so
need
let me ask
to.
you a question. How does being 23 and 23 equate to anything once you make the playoffs?
Nothing. It just shows you it's a predictor of how you're going to hit the playoffs because it screams that you're having problems, either internal problems or external problems on the basketball court where you're just not into it. You just can't defend. You've run out of psychological gas. I don't know what happened. And when you go 20 and 21 on the road, I told you how far back you have to go to find an NBA champ who was sub 500 on the road.
Yep.
1978.
Yep.
The Washington Bullets.
Yeah,
That's how far back you have to go.
They beat the Supersonics.
Wow.
Jack Sigma and Dennis Johnson and downtown Freddie Brown.
So is that
Marvin Webster.
Is that a predictor of what could happen now? Yeah, I'd say it qualifies.
But the Cavaliers have the number 1 problem solver. 6'9", 260 pounds from Akron, Ohio. You know what he does,
you know what they have? They have the luckiest player in basketball.
Oh, stop
I give
it,
you
Skip.
that because I keep looking at this. So they were a combined 1-7 against the Heat and the Bulls this year. 1-7?
Yeah.
That's not very good. Am I right? That doesn't sound very good. 1-7.
No.
Maybe I don't do math very well, but 1-7 sounds kind of scary bad to me. So again, you dodged both bullets in the first round, and you're over there saying it didn't matter. What would have happened if they'd played either of these two teams in the first round?
Both are gone in 5.
5. I think the Cavs would have been gone in 6. That's what I think. In both cases.
But guess what? All the Chicago Bulls have to do is keep winning, and they'll get an opportunity to put your theory to test. Now, the Miami Heat, you keep talking about, they had the best record in the East over the last 40 games. They had the second best record in the NBA, but they had the second worst record the first 30 games. So that's why they're not in the playoffs. Now, tell Coach Spo and Pat Riley to run tell that. All I know is this. Start Saturday, we begin our quest to repeat.
We quest to repeat.
Pete
what?
and repeat.
I will give you this. I think they will beat Indiana in 5 games. Is that what you got? You're going to give them a game or 4?
Oh, Skip. All I'm saying is this.
Well, what do you give me a prediction on that series? Sweep. Just go ahead and say it's a sweep.
It's going in 5.
5?
5 games.
Okay. Raptors probably next round. I'll give it 6, maybe.
Can we just focus on the here and the now?
Yeah.
We'll worry about the Toronto. Toronto, you take care of what you need to take care of. Yeah. We're going to hold this down over here. Yeah, y'all got Lance Stevens with all those shenanigans and those antics, but you know what LeBron always do? He always prevail. Always against Lance Stevenson. Always against the Indiana Pacers. Always against the Raptors. Always against the Celtics. You know what he does, Skip, and you need to stop playing with this man.
I'm not playing. I just gave you the hard, cold facts about why the Heat or the Bulls would have knocked them off.
But that's speculation.
Well, you know what?
You know what?
I couldn't wait to watch
the New England Patriots dodged a bullet because the Denver Broncos didn't make the playoffs. Oh, well. They should have played better, and they could have gotten to the playoffs. The Heat should have played better, and they could have gotten to the playoffs. The Bulls should have played better, and they could have been a higher seed, and they could have made sure they faced King James in his court.
Over the last 13 Heat games, they did not have their best player, Dion Waiters.
Hassan Whiteside is their best player.
The guy, the go-to guy, the takeover guy, the guts guy.
Skip, he's been
Dion Waiters.
Skip, how many teams has he been on?
I think did he go somewhere after Oklahoma City? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, just Oklahoma City.
He was with the Cavs.
Oh, he was with the Cavs. 3. Cavs at Oklahoma City, yeah.
So
okay.
At no point in time.
I love him. He scared me when my Spurs were playing them. He always made big shots.
At no point in time has Dion Waiters been the best player or the second best player on his team. Maybe now, but Hassan Whiteside is the best player on the Heat.
He's a force. I will give you that. But when it's time to make big shots, this guy just kept making them. That's that's a big body of work from January 17th on. Wow, they go 30-11, and that's including a 7-6 close without Dion.
What
30 and
about
11?
that 11-30 record
Wow.
they started with?
Well, that's a problem.
Oh, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a problem.
But it wouldn't have cost them until Deion Waiters wrecked his ankle and wrecked their chances of dethroning your Cleveland
LeBron
Cavaliers.
has been resting for a week. Kyrie has been resting for a week. Kevin Love got him 3 or 4 good days of rest. Watch what happens on Saturday.
This is
Skip.
unbelievable to me. The bullets that LeBron just dodged, because it was an inverted pyramid of problems in the East for LeBron, because the problems were going to come right away, and it was going to be Heat or Bulls. Nope. So all of a sudden, the pyramid turns back upside down, and now he's just
Pull that knee on him.
it's a cakewalk. It's pretty much a cakewalk. It's
Mr.
over.
Oh,
Anderson.
so you're admitting that you'd be concerned if he was facing the Heat or the Bulls.
The Heat, really?
Really.
Really?
They had
Really.
Heat
Hold on.
haters.
So you want, excuse me, you expect me to sit up here and say with a good conscience
Yes.
that I think Dragic, Hassan Whiteside, Deion Waiters would knock the king out in the first round?
I do. Guts. And also, Shannon, what does the record scream at you? They won 3 out of 4. The Bulls won all 4 against the Cavaliers. They feel like they can play and beat LeBron James. These other teams don't. I'm sorry, they just don't.
I don't care nothing about
the Pacers don't. The Raptors don't. The Celtics
I
really
don't care about no record. All I care about is when they throw the ball up in the air. Come playoff time. Because you know what happened today, Skip? 0 dark 30. Lockdown.
LeBron, I know you're still
No,
watching.
he ain't watching.
I know you're still
LeBron,
watching.
cut the TV off.
LeBron, how are you? Way to go. Congratulations, you just won the East last night.
Hold on. No, Skip.
You know, you did make a good point, though. If the Bulls could start upsetting the Celtics, and maybe the Bulls could get to...
That's all.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
All you
Okay,
don't
that's
worry.
not all we got left here.
Don't worry about it at the bottom half of the bracket. You take care of the top half of the bracket, and we'll meet you in the middle in about a month.
Okay. I'm rooting for the Chicago Bulls now.
Root for
Go, Dwayne.
What you're doing, you're rooting against LeBron. You're not rooting for any team.
I just want to see some real drama instead of the king of drama. I want some real on-court drama.
You'll see it in the finals.
No mercy. It's one of the most debated NBA MVP races in history. Go to foxsports.com to hear all your favorite FS1 personalities make the case for their MVP pick. The case for NBA MVP right now on
Skip is wrong.
foxsports.com. The regular season is over, and James Harden and Russell Westbrook are the 2 frontrunners for MVP. Last night, Oscar Robertson gave his endorsement to Westbrook. Jim Jackson is with us. Jim, who should be the MVP?
A couple weeks ago, I was on your side, Shannon.
You leaving me, Jack?
I got to
You're the
leave.
last man on that
I got
island.
to, and the reason why, and I'm a name dropper. I was with Oscar Robertson in Phoenix during the Final Four, and just listen to him
Hey,
talk.
you deserve to drop that.
I dropped that name.
I mean,
you know,
you're an Ohio legend.
Yeah.
Come on.
But when I went back to look at it, I thought about this. When we came into the season, the storyline was OKC, Kevin Durant leaving, going to Golden State. Russ, Kevin Durant. What you lost with Kevin Durant is not only a marquee player, one of the best in the league, but I think you took eyes off of the TV stream watching OKC. Why would you tune in and watch him now that Durant wasn't there?
Right.
But as the momentum with Russ came in with the MVP race, the historical significance, the NBA, everybody really got behind pushing it, and it made you want to watch OKC. Even if they were competitive, but they weren't one of the marquee teams.
Right.
And as I thought about history, this is what they're pushing, history. They're not going to be able to deny it in regards to what Russ was able to do. You got a team in 6th position right now in the Western Conference. You didn't think it was going to get there. Harden is he deserves the MVP. But in this year, at this time, with the history, with everything going on, Russ is going to get the MVP. It's no way that they can deny him. Again, I was with Harden because they were third. He was winning. Houston improved. But then I sat back and talked to Oscar and thought about it a little bit more and what it meant to the NBA and what it meant. I was on your side.
Game over,
I
Shannon.
gotta.
It's okay.
On this time, I'm gonna shift over here a little bit. This time.
Just admit it. Just
No,
be
this
a
time.
man. Be a
No.
man.
No.
Stand up and
No.
say, I'm sorry. I
It's
was
okay,
wrong.
Shannon.
Nobody will hold it against
okay.
you. You will not
Still love
lose
you.
your Hall of
Yeah.
Fame
Still love you.
credentials over this.
How about this? Jim? Think about
What?
this.
Okay.
Even though Russ, excuse me, Russ averaged a triple-double, had 31, almost 32 points, 10.5 rebounds, 10.3 assists. Assists, 10.4 assists, 10.3 rebounds, whatever. James Harden still accounted for more points than Russell.
Ain't history. It's not history, though.
What is it? So let me ask you a question. He made history, but he didn't win as many games.
Don't matter. I mean, when people buy, you know how emotions of people are. Trust me, you know this. It's emotional when you start to vote. And this and how they built this whole thing up around Russ and the triple-double and having Oscar there. If they don't give it to him from a marketing PR perspective, it doesn't make sense. And I'm just thinking from the business perspective. Forget who deserves it.
The beard.
The beard probably deserves it. But Shaq and Kobe deserve more than one MVP, but they didn't get it.
He's accounted for more points because they have made 114 more three-point shots than any other team, number 2 being your Cavaliers. 114 more threes. They're sniping from everywhere. And all he has to do, and we know James can get it in the lane. Oh, let me try. Oh, Ryan Anderson's open. Oh, Eric Gordon. Now, we look at these percentages they're shooting. Ryan Anderson's making 40% of his shots. And Eric Gordon, who's going to be the 6th man of the year, is making 36% of his. And I can just keep going. Patrick Beverly and Ariza, they're all snipers. Who is the worst three-point shooting team in all of basketball? It's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Russ doesn't have those quick outlets to hear, oh, your turn, your turn. Maybe Sabonis can make a three. No, he can't. Can Oladipo? Every once in a while, he makes one. You know who the best three-point shooter on Oklahoma City has become? Russell Westbrook. It's unbelievable.
No one told the Thunder to build half of their roster with 7-footers.
They got
That's
left
why they can't.
high and dry by Kevin Durant. It was built for Kevin and Russell.
Well, let me ask you a question. How good was Gordon shooting threes for the Pelicans? What about Ryan Anderson?
This is perfect fit. It's all about the
D'Antoni's system. I played in the system, so
You did,
I
that's
played.
right.
I played a D'Antoni system. Now, on the defensive end, you don't have to worry about that too
they
much.
don't, no.
But offensively, think about it. Jeremy Lin when he played, even Felton from that perspective. When you put a point guard in his system, he allows you to create. And then when you put some shooters around him, now you're going to get open looks that you didn't get. Eric Gordon, for him, I'm so happy for him because of the injuries. But now he's playing at another level, even though he's starting, came off the bench at the beginning of the year. Mike puts you in really good positions that whether you're a 3, 4, a shooting guard, well, you're going to get open looks. OKC had to struggle. And again, Shannon, up until about 3/4 of the season, the last 2 weeks, I was with you. But when I just think about who's the history behind what's going on, and it solidified it when I talked to Oscar, I was like,
It doesn't bother you that Russell had 98 defensive
it bothered
rebounds?
me. It bothered me.
On the
It bothered all that does.
Shannon, who had the most turnovers between James Harden and Russell Westbrook?
Harden did.
Thank you. Case closed.
Both broke
It's
the
over,
record.
Shannon.
Both of them did.
It's over. Just over. So who's going to be the landslide runaway winner of Coach of the Year?
I don't think it would be landslide.
Yes, it will. It's runaway. It's over.
I think Spoelstra and Quinn.
I will bet you. I will bet you it'll be a runaway. It's over in that regard too, and it's because of his system that has made James flourish in ways James couldn't before. And well, again, that system that you know very well, it helped make Steve Nash a back-to-back MVP when he didn't deserve it the second time, but it exaggerated and inflated his value because he was the perfect fit in the eye of that storm, right?
I'm going to give James Harden credit, though. When they first talked about moving him to point guard, I was like, I don't know about that. And I was talking to some people. Give him credit for saying, I'm going to prove that I can be much more than just a scorer. Yeah, he turned the basketball over. And you would expect a guy that handles the ball like that, that's not accustomed to playing point guard at the highest level, to have more turnovers. Correct. But to be able to change his mindset, to go into the season and say, yes, I'm going to be a facilitator as well as a scorer and pick up my rebounding. You got to give a lot of love to James Harden for doing that. And look where it's put him in that situation.
I'm just saying, look. I don't care who gets it, but you already know.
Care.
The true MVP is the king of Akron. 26, 8, and 8.
Really?
You already know.
Are you going to vote for him? His no defense playing self?
Whoa!
He doesn't play any defense anymore.
Those two don't either.
Huh?
Russell Westbrook is last in contested shots.
Oh, stop it. He's a better defender than James Harden is. James just occasionally thinks about playing
Shannon,
defense in D'Antoni's system.
unlike during the NFL season where we very much judged you for changing your picks, we will not judge you if you just
say it's okay.
come to the side of
He's
reason.
not gonna do it. I'm going with the beard. And the
won't
beard's
hold
going to
it-
take him out in
We
5.
won't hold it against you if you see the light.
He's going to have a triple-double game 1.
Who? James Harden?
Yes.
Well, his team's a lot better than Russell's. He should do some damage.
Oh, his team's a lot better.
Yeah.
A lot better. I just saw OKC win a game without Russ. Didn't you see that too? How did that happen?
Who was playing for the
Oh,
other
my
team?
goodness. Oh,
The
my
other
goodness.
team sent its D-League team.
No mercy. Us Weekly reported that Aaron Rodgers broke up with his girlfriend, Olivia Munn, because she didn't get along with his family. Rodgers' family life came into the news last season after his brother Jordan appeared on The Bachelorette and said he doesn't speak to Aaron. We're joined by Greg Jennings, played 7 seasons with Rodgers. Welcome, Greg.
How are you?
Good to have you back.
Doing great.
Yeah, once again, you outdressed Shannon Sharpe, but that's okay.
No,
Way to go.
I never outdressed.
He loved trying to be with me.
Greg, did these off-the-field issues distract Rodgers on the field?
No. I think when we look at Aaron Rodgers and we use the word distraction, I think that's a strong word, being that we've seen him handle so many different things over the course of his career, right out the gate with Brett Favre and all that saga. Even though family is different, we do know that.
Yes.
Family is different. And what I saw this year was a guy who was trying to deal with a lot of things. Whatever those things were, we don't all know. I mean, the reports are what they are, but only he really knows what was really going on. Had an opportunity to talk to his brother Luke, his older brother, and there definitely was some issues there. But when you're looking at a guy who can perform at this high level, the one word that comes to mind is compartmentalize. And that's what Aaron has always been able to do. He has perfected defining what compartmentalizing situations, circumstances, off the field issues, he's defined what that looks like. And so when I hear, is it a distraction? I think it's an issue, but he knows how to not allow it to become a distraction. I think early in the year, and I was riding him. From my vantage point, rightfully so. I needed him to play better. That team needed him to play better. He knew he needed to play better. Right. But then you saw him figure out how to handle whatever was going on, whether it was in the locker room, outside the locker room, and he kind of settled in, and they started to excel, and he exploded, and we forgot all about what took place the first quarter of the year. And so this is a guy who, you throw anything at him, he reads every article. He wants to know what you say. He wants to know what you say, Skip. He wants to know what I say so that he can utilize it. He can use it as fuel. He sits it right here, and then he goes into the game waiting for that moment to when he can come out of the game and say, and you said what again? Yeah. That's who he is. So he uses whatever is out there as fuel, and it makes him a special player. Not everyone can do that and still play at a high level.
Okay, before you go.
Go ahead.
Not looking for gory details here, but from what you heard from his older brother, what are the general specifics? He just quit speaking to some members of his family?
Yeah, that he wasn't speaking to mom and dad. I mean, and it blew me away because knowing Mr. and Mrs. Rodgers, their family, they have a great family, a great dynamic. But again, families have feuds.
Sure. Got it.
I'm a big family guy, so I can't see not talking to my mom or my dad that's a bit much for me. But again, I don't know the details. I really honestly don't care about the details. I'm just glad whatever he's decided to do is going to potentially bring him closer with his family.
It's reported that they had been dating for 3 years. In Rodgers' last 3 seasons, he's thrown 109 touchdowns, 20 interceptions, and he's won an MVP. So if he was distracted, he sure did do good. I mean, it didn't distract him too much. The greats can, as as you mentioned, Greg, they can compartmentalize. You remember Brett Favre, his father, passed that Sunday. Monday night, he played the greatest game of his career in the regular season. He knew his dad, Irv, would want him to play. Brett wanted to, he probably like, man, what should I do? But knowing my dad the way I know him, he would want me to go out here and play well. And that's what Brett Favre did. No matter what's going on off the field, the real greats, they can compartmentalize that, realize I got 45 other guys that's counting on me to do my job. The coaching staff is counting on me to do my job. Because when you go out there, the fans don't care if you're hurt. They don't care what you have going on in your life. They see number 12. They see Rodgers on the back of the jersey. They expect greatness. Rodgers expects greatness of himself, and he delivers week in and week out on a consistent basis. That's what makes him one of the top quarterbacks that's in the National Football League. Now, why this came to be, I mean, we would have never known this. Had his brother not spoken out, we would have never known there was a rift between Aaron Rodgers and his family. We'd have never known. But for whatever reason, his brother was feeling good. The interviewer asked the right question at the right time.
On the show.
On The Bachelorette.
Right.
Something, yeah, one of those. I don't watch that kind of stuff.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm 1,000% sure I don't watch it. And so the interviewer asked the right question at the right time, and Jordan just opened his heart.
Spilled.
I'm sure Aaron didn't like that because most people do not like their family business being aired. But I say this about anybody, women that's going to date a professional athlete, you can learn a lot about that man by how he treats the women in his own family. And I think for Aaron, if there's any truth to this, I think if he's as close as you're saying he was to his family, he knew he was drifting away. He knew he was in the wrong place. He's like, all this that I've gone through, they've always been here. They've always been there. And that's the way I look at it.
Yep.
My sister has been there for 49 years. My brother, my mom. So, I can love you, but I'm never turning my back on them now. So one or two things can happen. You can make it work, or I'm going to go on back over here with family and I'm going to have to leave you alone. But I don't think it distracted Aaron Rodgers in the least. The 109, 20 touchdowns and MVP says that he handled his business the way he should have.
Okay. So as a longtime journalist and commentator, one of the most difficult issues has been this type of issue. What is fair game? What should be germane to what's happening on the football field? And what's TMZ-ish? What's just sort of Us Weekly type stuff, or what really matters? What counts here? And it's a hard call because it's always a fine line that you're walking. But if I can see where some sort of family problem or emotional problem or distraction is starting to hurt performance, then that's fair game to me.
Yeah.
And I always use the detail, this is extreme, but if I happen to be staying at the hotel covering the Cowboys that they were at, and I happen to come back from dinner, this didn't happen, but if I had seen a player stumble in so intoxicated he needed help walking, and then that player had a horrible game the next day, it would seem to me to be fair game to ask the coach and or the player, did that have anything to do with your lack of performance today? But in this case, you say, look at what he did for the last 3 years, but I'm sorry, his 2015, by his standards, was pretty awful, by his standards, because all I hear is he's the best quarterback in football. I think the guy in Foxborough is the best quarterback, but it's close. This guy is up there. He's the second best quarterback in football. And in 2015, he struggled the whole year. I'm sorry, by his standards, he had a 64 QBR. Remember, 50 is halfway, that's average. And that was his career worst by far. And his completion percentage in 2015, not this past year, but the year before, was barely 60%. That was by far his career worst. And he lost at home that year, and it's not just him, but he is the quarterback and one of the best quarterbacks, but he lost to all three division rivals in 2015 at home. He lost to the Bears, and he lost to the Lions, and he lost to the Vikings at home. That's pretty shocking. And by the way, if not for an underthrown Hail Mary in Detroit, they finished 10-6, they would have finished 9-7. and they went and they were able to beat Kirk Cousins, whoop-de-doo, in Washington in the first playoff game, and then they lost at Arizona in overtime the second one. But by Aaron's standards, I thought that was an off year. And I think most people agreed it was an off year in 2015. Then last year, I remind you, they got off to a 4-6 start. To your point, you were riding him. On television, you were riding him 4-6 by losing 4 straight games. And even you agreed at that point that is shockingly, uncharacteristically bad for Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
And during that stretch, they lost to Cowboys and the rookie quarterback at home, and he had a QBR of 35 on a scale of 0 to 100. And then they lost to Indy at home. Indy wound up 8-8 last year, and he had a 50 QBR. And then they lost at Minnesota with a 52 QBR, and they lost at Tennessee with a 55 QBR. It was just shockingly uncharacteristically
And follow
bad.
that up to Washington, lost to Washington. Kirk Cousins threw.
He did, okay, you got it. He played pretty well in that game. And then he got crazy hot, and he got credit for the prediction. We're going to run the table, except he didn't actually say that. He said, I'd like to run the table, like to think we could, or however it was, but he qualified it. But whatever. Then he turned back into Aaron Rodgers. Well, I'm not saying that 2 + 2 equals home life problems or whatever, but it could have. I mean, it was shockingly poor enough a performance by his standards that I think it's a legitimate question to ask, wow, maybe because it sounded like she had driven some sort of wedge between Aaron and his family because they weren't real keen on her, or whatever happened. I don't know the gory details of it, but something was going on to the point that he quit speaking, not just to his mom and dad, but to several members of the family. He was estranged.
Skip, it's just hard for me to believe that someone can drive a wedge between me and my family if I don't let them.
Okay.
Because you know, my sister, I talk to my sister every day. I've talked to my sister every day since.
Okay, but that's you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Skip. And so it all depends on what type of relationship. Was it like, okay, I talk to my mom and dad once a week, once every other week? I mean, what type of relationship did they have before Olivia Munn came into the picture? That's the question. Because if you're as tight as Greg is with his family, it's hard for me to believe that Greg would allow someone to come in between them and say, all of a sudden, Greg.
Quick point. She wasn't Olivia from Oshkosh. You know, she was Olivia from Hollywood, who was a force. I mean, she had become a movie star,
Well,
right?
I would say this: anytime a sibling speaks out, who's not in the limelight, but he obviously was on the show and he was in the light at this moment, and they talk and they bring up and they're willing to bring up family issues, there is a true problem.
Yeah.
And I believe before Olivia Munn, I think maybe she enhanced it. There was issues, there was tension looming. But again, we don't know that. I don't know that. But to his play, there was a lot that went into the performances that took place last year. I'm not taking anything of what I said back because he needed to play better.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they had injury after injury, trying to see if Jordy was going to be the Jordy that we once knew. Randall Cobb in and out of the lineup. No running game.
Yeah.
He had to bear such a load with what we think could be had been looming.
Home problem.
That could have been something that he was trying to navigate the entire year. And once he kind of settled down and got everything together, he snapped back into it, and we saw how special he truly is.
Family stuff can get really complicated.
Really complicated.
No mercy. Say Today put out their list of top 10 quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round in the last 10 years. They ranked Andrew Luck first. Let's take a look at the rest of the top 10. Following Luck were Cam Newton, Matt Ryan, Matt Stafford, and Joe Flacco. Sam Bradford is sixth, followed by Ryan Tannehill, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, and Teddy Bridgewater.
Sam Bradford at the top.
Skip, what would your ranking look like?
First of all, it would not have Andrew Luck in the top spot. And I'm going to say this again. This is another classic case of so many analysts and so many commentators dug in before the Andrew Luck RG3 draft and said, Eureka, the next John Elway from Stanford University. He has never, ever lived up to that number one overall billing, because the truth is he's basically turned into a beat-up turnover machine. And I don't want to rub this in, but because we're responding to this ranking, as a rookie, he was second overall in the NFL in total turnovers to Mark Sanchez. In his third year, he was second overall in total turnovers to Jay Cutler. That's kind of the company he's been keeping. And I look at his QBR, and I hang my hat on that stat. It's my favorite quarterback stat, obviously. And over the 5 years he's been in the NFL, Andrew Luck, he's averaged 13th, finishing 13th in QBR. That's not the number one overall pick. He's 3-3 in the playoffs, and he got a lot of credit for that great escape against Kansas City at home in that playoff game when they fell behind 38-10 and rallied. Well, why were they behind 38-10? He dug that hole. He stunk it up with 3 interceptions.
Yes.
And then he was terrific, climbing out of the hole as Kansas City lost key player after key player to injury. So in the end, I'm sorry. This is shocking to me because I'm not the biggest Fluco fan, but isn't Joe Flacco? He's number one on this list just because of what he's done in the postseason. If that's what matters, he's really mattered in the postseason. He's 10-5 in the postseason. He's 7-5 on the road in the postseason. He's 2-2 at Foxborough and should have been 3-1 at Foxborough. Yep. He won a Super Bowl. He was the Super Bowl MVP. In the postseason, he's 25 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. That's not good. That is great. And I got to give Cam second on this list with an MVP and a Super Bowl appearance, and he's had 3 Pro Bowl appearances. Matt Ryan, I got third on the list because he's been an MVP with the Super Bowl appearance and 4 Pro Bowls. And then I'll give you Luck 4 and Matt Stafford 5.
Skip, we're so close. I got Joe Flacco 1 because, as you mentioned, the 7-row playoff win is an NFL record. He's gone to Brady's home. Very few quarterbacks can say they've beaten Brady in Foxborough in the playoffs. He said, I beat him twice. Yeah. And as you mentioned, he's a drop touchdown by Lee Evans away from being 3-1. He won the Super Bowl, won an MVP. That's got to be number one. I flip-flop with you. I put Matt Ryan because he also won an MVP. He also went to the Super Bowl, but he has a better regular season record.
He does. He's just 3-5 in the postseason.
Right. So. I went Cam 3, MVP, Super Bowl appearance, and I got Andrew Luck. First of all, Sam Bradford should not even be on this list.
I agree.
The mere fact that he's up there talking about 6th, he has never even sniffed the playoffs, haven't even come close. He's injury prone.
He is.
That's not my list.
So is Matthew Stafford not on anyone's radar?
I got him 5th. And I like him. You played against him a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Put him. Make a case for him over the top these four.
No. I'm just trying to make sure he's made the list because I haven't heard I didn't hear his name come out of
I just went 4. I couldn't count.
For me, yes, I think Joe Flacco has to be number 1 on this list because of all the reasons you mentioned: the Super Bowl, the winning percentage in the playoffs, huge. I mean, again, you can rate that against some of the top elite quarterbacks in this league, and he's like top 2, 3. But then for me, two, I got Matt Ryan, and here's why I got Matt Ryan over Cam Newton. For me, Cam Newton had one spectacular year that was followed up by what we saw this past year. 19 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 75.4 QBR. You don't go from MVP, Super Bowl appearance to that. Like that in my opinion, that as a receiver, that ain't it.
Right.
So for me, I dropped Cam because of that. I gotta respect him because he won the MVP. He has that. He has a Super Bowl appearance. But if I were to just throw all that out the door, which you can't, but I'm doing it for the sake of this list. Joe Flacco is my number 1. Matt Ryan is my number 2. Matthew Stafford is my number 3. Andrew Luck is my number 4, and Cam Newton is my number 5.
Okay, but remember, you're kind of prisoner of the moment with Matt Ryan right now because he did win MVP just now. He did get to the Super Bowl.
But he has been doing. Look at his stats for the last.
He's at 37,000
passing yards.
Skip.
I mean, he was going into this playoff run. He was 1-4 in the postseason, and he never measured up.
Right, and we put a lot of onus on what you've done in the playoffs. But when you look at Cam Newton, look at his playoff record. You look at Matthew. You look at a Matthew Stafford. Look at his playoff record. Yeah. I mean, he's barely made it. He's made it what, twice, 3 times in his career.
3 times. Yep.
So I mean, but he's on really bad teams.
I can't do it statistically with Matt Stafford.
No, you can't.
But my eye tells me he's pretty good.
Absolutely.
I don't know if he ever really measured up to be a number 1 overall pick, but his team has been so dreadfully bad, just dreary to watch, that he plays above his team week after week after week.
But how is Sam Bradford
How
is Sam Bradford over anybody on the list?
Well, you're starting to run out of quarterbacks taken in the first round.
So tell me who he's not in front of on this. Well, Jameis Winston is coming into his own.
Yeah.
We didn't see a lot of Mariota. I mean, he looked like he was starting to pick up.
I mean, Jameis is going to be way better than Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
When it's over, we don't have enough body of work.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We got a huge body of work on Sam Bradford.
We do.
So what makes you think he's a top 6 of the quarterbacks drafted in the last decade?
Well, I mean, Robert Griffin III, you got to put him up there in front of him.
At least RG3 took a team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
When did Sam Bradford take a team to the playoffs? Okay, when has he been close to taking a team to the playoffs? Think about it. The guy's on 3 teams in his 3rd year.
Well, Minnesota.
They ain't going to the playoffs.
You said close?
Close.
Last year.
Are they pitching horseshoes or are they slow dancing?
You said close. You said close. Did he not just say close? Close.
How close were they?
He had a few moments.
They were a game out.
A game out.
A game out.
That's his hometown, right?
They
That's
were a
where he
game
lived.
out.
They gonna let you go to the stadium.
No,
He's terrible. Sam Bradford is terrible.
Hey, I'm not saying I'm a Sam Bradford fan, but when you say when has he been to the playoffs, who has he took, and how close? Hey, he was close last year.
Hey,
he wasn't close.
I never liked him. I watched every game he
No, he
played
wouldn't-
for my
but-
team in
yep.
Oklahoma, and I always said all he does is throw mid-range darts, and he could throw them. If you protect
Absolutely.
him, he can throw mid-range
Without a
darts. But is that the number 1 overall pick? No, it's not.
You can't breathe on him.
Fold like a lawn chair. You know, hey, how does a folding chair do it at a banquet? End of the night, they fold it up. That's what he do. He's scary, Skip. He's scary. Oh, you got to
agree.
listen. If I was a defensive coordinator and I'm playing Sam Bradford, I'm blitzing the first play of the game.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to say this one last time. I was a huge RG3 fan going into that draft, and I thought I said I would take him over Andrew Luck, and he backed me up that whole first year because he was the offensive rookie of the year. And as you said, he took a pretty bad team to a division championship, and they were up 14-0 on Seattle in a playoff game before he wrecked his knee. And I think he's turned into one of the sadder stories I've ever seen in pro football because he went from that guy and he started feeling himself, taking himself a little too seriously. But he went from that to he might be
out of the league.
Done.
He might be out of the league, Skip.
This is an interesting list. I'd like to hear the argument for Andrew Luck over any of the rankings.
Real quick, going back to Juice. Juice say you can tell him I'm a superhero. I'm like a superhero. I do music at night and mentor and train kids during the day. I don't know what that means, but I think he's coming at you. He's a superhero at night, man.
Well, superheroes can fly, man. You realize that.
And he's pretty much a superhero.
Man, you bet.
Shannon,
Go ahead into the reach. But I'm not.
It sounds like it'll be a fun season.
You do push the buttons of these young receivers.
I don't bother
I know.
Skip, I don't bother anybody.
Oh.
I just sit up here.
Just sit there and bother.
Then you say you're faster than the man too.
That's
Okay.
what did.
I get it.
That's what
can't-
made him hit send about 4 times.
Yeah.
It wasn't just once; it was 4 or 5 times.
Skip, he should be able to run me. I'm about to be 49.
Okay, so we just stated a fact.
But at 24, 24,
You
he'd
cannot
have got dealt with.
No, he would not have.
Yes, indeed.
He weighed 250.
Hashtag the new Miami, Shannon. Get
I
on
know,
board.
right? I know.
Thanks for
Respect.
joining us.
New Miami, same Dolphins.
Miami.
The reigning Super Bowl champion Patriots swept the season series against the Dolphins last year, but that didn't stop Dolphins wide receiver Jarvis Landry from making a bold claim. Landry told a crowd in London that the Dolphins would sweep the Patriots this season. Landry added, "If you're a competitor, that's the way you should feel, and I don't mind saying it. It's time for a change. I have all the respect in the world for the Patriots, and I respect Tom Brady tremendously, but they're not our big brother anymore." Shannon, was it smart or dumb for Landry to say this?
This was so dumb. Was Jarvis Landry and the Miami Dolphins, were they not competitors last year? Now, Tom Brady missed the first game. Jimmy Garoppolo was going to start. I did not hear Jarvis Landry say one thing about beating the New England Patriots. Tom Brady came back, played the last week of the season. I did not hear Jarvis Landry say one thing about beating the New England Patriots. Everybody keeps talking about we're not the New England Patriots is not the big brother. We had this. Rex Ryan said the very same thing when he got to the Jets. They got him up out of the Jets. He went to Buffalo with that same brash bravado.
Yep.
Got it right on up out of Buffalo. You're right, Jarvis Landry. The Patriots are not your big brother. They're your father, and they're going to tear your tail up for being disrespectful. They're not only your father, they're the entire league's father. This is the model that you try to aspire to be. There's a reason why they've won 5 championships since 2000. And for Jarvis Landry, all of a sudden, because he says it, oh, it's going to happen. Really? The thing that you like most about the Patriots, they don't tell you who they're going to beat. They just go play their game because talking doesn't win games. Winning games win games. Going out there playing. Now, I'm going to call my good friend Dan Marino. Dan's about 7 years older than I am. Now, maybe he's coming back, he's going to play quarterback for the Dolphins at the age of 23. Maybe he can go in a time machine.
You know what? I would endorse that.
Yeah. But other than this, I don't get it, Skip. I don't get it. Because, yeah, we're going to talk about it. But this means nothing. Because when they lose, what are we going to say? And everybody going to say, well, what was he supposed to say? He was supposed to keep his mouth shut and just go play the game of football. Him doing all this talking doesn't do anything. They don't even play. They don't even put on pads. They don't even have helmets on. All he does, this is fodder. But come September, whenever you have to strap it up against the Patriots, let the pads, let the touchdowns do the talking. Man, y'all do it. Jarvis, ooh.
So you think it made it harder to beat the Patriots?
No, it's always a task to beat them.
I thought.
Skip, what am I missing? Hold on. This is a team, the Patriots have won 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls. They've gotten better in the offseason than
Way
what
better.
they were when they finished as Super Bowl champs. You got drugged by Pittsburgh. New England drugged Pittsburgh. But somehow, because you're saying, oh, I'm a competitor, we're just tired of them winning, oh, that's going to mean something now. Like, Coach Belichick's going to go in there and talk to his guys, you know, where you heard Jarvis Landry, you know, I don't think we should show up this week. This is so ridiculous, Skip. I just get tired of these guys saying these dumb things because then we got to respond. We got to respond to it. Is it dumb? Is it outrageous? It's ridiculous. The Patriots going to kick their butts again like they've been doing since Tom Brady and Coach Belichick got there. And there's nothing Jarvis Landry, there's nothing the Miami Dolphins or anybody in the AFC East can do about it.
I get you. I hear you. But I am not going to condemn this as dumb. And I'll tell you why. I think Jarvis Landry was speaking more with his heart than his head. But I think his heart is in the right place on this one because one of the most phenomenal streaks I've ever heard of in sports is that the New England Patriots have won this division 8 straight years and 14 out of 16. And I remind you, the 2 times they didn't win it, in 2002, the year after the first Super Bowl, they tied with the Jets at 9-7 and lost a tiebreaker. So at least the Patriots tied for first and lost a tiebreaker to Chad Pennington and my friend Coach Herm and the Jets. And then in 2008,
Tom tore his
he
knee.
got hurt. Brady got hurt, and obviously they still went 11-5, and they tied with the Dolphins and lost a tiebreaker again to Chad Pennington, who was then the Dolphins quarterback. So it's Chad Pennington twice has dethroned New England Patriots. Okay, so it's such a long streak. It basically covers 16 years of dominance.
Basically, almost 2 decades.
That's correct. That when Jarvis Landry says it's ridiculous, it's a problem, he is right. Now, there's one cape you don't tug on, and that's Superman's cape. In this case, number 12's in Foxborough. That's the one guy you don't mess with, so you probably should just let sleeping dogs lie. But there's so many new sleeping dogs up in New England now because they got way better than they were last year, to me. So the point is that he's calling out his team at least from a position of strength. At least they were the wild card team last year. It wasn't like they went 2-14 last year and he said, we got to turn this around.
Skip, but the team he's barking at went 14-2. The commissioner handed the Lombardi trophy to their owner. So what good is a wild card when the Lombardi is being handed to your owner?
I hear you, but at some point, you got to try something completely different, and he's trying something completely different. The odds are they were going to get their butts kicked twice next year anyway, so I can't condemn him for just saying, you know what, I'm just going to throw caution to the wind. I'm going to write the check that forces my team to try to cash it.
Yeah.
And I liked what he said. He had a point of wisdom here. He said, too often when we play the Patriots, we focus on what they're doing as opposed to what we can do to beat them. We just play our game. And he's probably right about that. They're so intimidated. They're so conscious of what the Patriots and Brady are doing. And he was nothing but respectful to them. He said, I have all the respect in the world for the Patriots, and I respect Tom Brady tremendously. So it wasn't like he was trash-talking them.
Skip.
Right?
He's already worried about what they're doing. You're talking about them.
Sure. You should be worried.
Go in your lab.
I mean, basically 16 years in a row?
Are you actually
kidding me?
Skip, let me ask you a question. When Tom Brady's eating out of avocado ice cream, he's getting stretched. You think he's worried about the Miami Dolphins?
No.
You think Coach
I don't think he worries about anybody.
You think Coach Belichick is worried about the Dolphins?
No.
You know why? Because they do what they do. The thing that
That's exactly what Jarvis was saying. We should do what we do.
Okay. What is exactly that you do, Jarvis?
Well, here's the problem with what Jarvis is saying. They have one problem I don't think they can fix, and that's Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. I just don't like him. I'm sorry. I don't know. Ryan Tannehill, Tom Brady. Who's going to win? I think I'll go with Tom Brady.
You see Miss Dolphin over here? Look at Miss Dolphin. What she got on?
I like it. She's representing today.
Skip.
What do you call that? Aqua? Is it
Yeah, it's aqua and orange.
Yeah. There we go.
As I was saying, Joy Taylor, Skip, the thing that I admire most about the Patriots, not only that they win, they win, but Skip, they play to a standard. They don't play to the competition. That means they don't play up or down. They play to the standard in which Coach Belichick has set forth from the day he walked into that building. That's what you admire most about them. They're great in-game adjustments, but if you have them down at the half, you better step on them because they're coming out because they're going to make adjustments. All this talking, I don't got no problem with talking, Skip. I don't have a problem with it because you got to play the game regardless. But when you're in a situation, when was the last time the Dolphins won something?
You mean won the Super Bowl?
Well, 72-73 was the last time they won the Super Bowl. They went Dan's second year in the league, which was 84. But Skip, I mean, he's
lost to the great Joe Montana.
Yeah,
Dan played great in that game.
There's no shame in that.
Nope.
But he's doing all this talking like, oh, yeah, it's time, they're not the big brother. Yes,
You're right. They're the father. They are. They're way beyond
and they're going to tear your hiney up, Jarvis Landry, for being disrespectful.
Okay. Well, you got to try something, Shannon. This is desperate, man. This is desperate kind of talk.
Okay, where are the players? Where are they're going to get these quarterback? They're going to get this quarterback. Where are they going to get these DBs to slow down this offense?
I don't know.
Shouldn't he have thought about that before he opened his mouth?
They have been good against New England late in the year at home.
Yeah.
Because it's hot and it's humid and it's for the Foxborough guys. They're like, ugh.
They're bundled up. Yeah, I get it.
No, okay, so you got that going for you.
Tom Brady just like, man, he's training extra hard now. Gronk is lifting extra weight. Julian Edelman, I mean, they're like, man, did you hear what Jarvis Landry said?
I find this weird from someone who is a Hall of Fame talker.
Once the season roll around, we leading up to the game, you want to talk. What does talking and
you know what? I agree with you. If you were Jarvis Landry, if you were in his shoes and you were Shannon Sharpe, you would say the same thing. And you just say, I got to try something. I got to rattle their cage somehow. I got to rattle our own cage somehow.
What good is me talking to April going to do, Skip? You know how far that is from the season? Now, if he wanted to get to the season they're playing, hey, we leading up to it, okay, fine. But what am I talking in April about something that's not
But this isn't going to affect the Patriots. We know that. Jarvis knows how long they've been winning for and how great the Patriots. He's talking about the Dolphins.
First of all, I find it insulting that you two would compare Jarvis Landry to me. Talking. I find that very insulting.
I didn't
you know what? Yeah, you did.
I didn't I just said it was odd that you didn't side with the talker.
It took you like 3 minutes to get it.
Yeah, because
why were you so slow on that one?
Because I'm like, hold on. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Did
wait a
they
minute.
just compare Jarvis Landry to
I did not compare Jarvis Landry to you. I just said it's odd that you're not siding with someone who's talking.
Skip Bayless?
Could you put your sockless shoes back on the floor
You're like-
so I can't smell them?
Skip, I can't believe you, Skip. Skip
This
Bayless.
isn't smell-o-vision, right?
Skip, I cannot believe you. Joy Taylor, I
Most
can
people
believe.
don't know this about Jarvis Landry, but he pays attention to headlines. He clipped an article off from NFL Network of the top 100 players. They ranked him 98. He keeps it in his locker for motivation. This is the kind of player that he is.
That's pretty good. 98 out of.
Well, he doesn't feel like he's 98th. He feels like he's better, and this is how he motivates himself. So this is not surprising coming from him.
Okay, so what? He wants to be a better player. I tell you what, I'll be 150 as long as I get the trophy. I'll be 200.
Well,
So what
it
good is
sounds
that?
like that's what he's
good is
trying to
that
do
now?
by beating the Patriots.
Okay, so his teammates are going to the weight room today, or they're going out for some workout today, and they're all thinking...
Might be going to Live nightclub
They
tonight.
might be going, and that might be a problem. But the point is, if they're in the weight room, they might be thinking, man, I got to work a little harder because I got to live up to this. We're in trouble now. He's called us out. He's put us on notice.
If I got to work harder because somebody said, I was wasting my time to begin
Okay,
with.
but you're rare like that. A lot
I
of people
still can't
needed
believe
motivation.
you and Joy Taylor
Yeah.
compared Jarvis Landry to me.
I
It's
don't
funny.
think it's a comparison.
Oh, you think it's funny?
Well, you can't run with Jarvis Landry. We know that. Could you ever have run with? Could you ever beat
He
him?
ran 4.6.
That's what I'm. Jarvis Landry.
Yes.
I think he can run 4.4 with the football under his arm. The man can fly.
No, he can't.
I'm sorry.
No, he can't.
Are you saying you could have beaten him?
Yes, in my prime, without saying, yes, absolutely, I can outrun him. Yes.
No,
Yes.
you couldn't.
Skip, I don't know why you think I was so slow.
I didn't think you were slow. You weighed 250 or whatever you pointed
No,
at.
I weigh 228, 232.
You're just a little more lumbering, that's all.
No,
lumbering
no.
type. Ooh, I like that.
No mercy.
This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. That's it for us today. We're back tomorrow with more fun and debates as we get you ready for the first rounds of all the NBA playoff matchups. Also, tomorrow's Friday, so of course we continue #Dance Party Friday with some of your thoughts on what we should do for our next song, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Fox Sports. One of one.